Have you ever considered the philosophy of Bruce Lee? Most people, when they think about Bruce Lee, they think about a fighter. What most people don't realize is that Bruce Lee was a philosophy major. And I think it's interesting to note the course his life took based on his background in philosophy. So I wanted to play a couple of clips of some of Bruce Lee's interviews and even a clip from one of his movies. And I wanted to break down how Bruce Lee's philosophy shaped his life and why we should emulate a similar way of thinking in our lives.
I have several questions. What is the highest technique you hope to achieve?
To have no technique.
What are your thoughts when facing an opponent?
There is no opponent, because the word I does not exist. A good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. When the opponent expands, I contract. When it contracts, I expand. And when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself.
I think one of the reasons why Bruce Lee is so revered by everyone is that he's thought to be so ahead of his time. When we think of someone that's ahead of their time, we envision a world where everyone falls into like these very mundane categories. There was a couple of things in these two videos that I'm going to show you that show how Bruce Lee wasn't about that life at all. In the first clip, we see him talking to his teacher. And his teacher says, I have a couple of questions. He said, what are your thoughts when facing an opponent? And Bruce Lee says, there is no opponent because there is no I. I remember like when I first saw this, obviously as a kid, you watch that and it just sounds like Kung Fu mumbo jumbo. But I really want to break down why he said that. Well, first of all, he said it because it's a line in a movie. But this philosophy of there is no opponent because there is no I, this is very true in our day-to-day lives. Most of the time, we take on adversaries and we take on things that aren't even our problem. We take on fights that are not our problem. We take things personally that are not our problem. And all of that is because of our ego. Our ego is basically the borders of our personality, of who we are, okay? But psychologically speaking, we also have a skin, we have a border, right? And that encompasses our personality, and that thing is our ego. And our ego can be very delicate. It could be very easily hurt and offended. We vehemently try to protect it because we wrongly identify ourselves with the things that we believe, and we attach it to our ego, right? Boom. I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to attach this as me. I'm a Christian, boom, that's me. And what happens when we do that is that if someone attacks that thing, it feels like we're taking an attack, okay? If someone says, man, that building is ugly over there, I didn't design it, I don't care, I'd hear it and okay. But if they say, man, I hate this type of religion or I hate that type of government, and that's the type of government that we advocate, we're going to feel attacked by that. Bruce Lee is lessening his opponents by lessening his ego. When we lessen our ego, it doesn't mean that we feel less about ourselves. It doesn't mean that we have low self-esteem. No, it's the opposite. We have great self-esteem because we're not attaching all these external things to ourselves. We have the capacity to lower the amount of enemies that we have by lessening our ego, not feeling so attacked, not taking things so personally. The next thing Bruce Lee said was that a good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. When he expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. So the fact is that we cannot escape adversity. We cannot escape conflict. The first thing that he said was that there is no opponent because there is no I. But nothing is absolute. There's going to be a time when there is an opponent in front of you, when there's some situation that you need to resolve. And in that situation, Bruce Lee says a good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. This was another thing that I had to teach myself to master, because when you are reactive, you're tense. You're always tense, and it shakes up this unending anxiety inside of you. I grew up in New York City, and there were times where I had to come home and had to take my key out, put it in the door. You do it 10,000 million times. But now try doing that when there's a dog chasing you. It's like from your hand to your pocket, there's a maze. And then you had only 3 keys on your keychain, but now you have 15 keys on your keychain. That's what fear does. But that's exactly what he says. A good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. Because tense creates a nervous energy, and you carry that in everything throughout your life. And since you can't avoid this conflict, you have to find a way to remove that tension and to get better at dealing with your stress and your emotions whenever there's some kind of conflict. To be more self-aware and to control your emotions a little bit better, or at least mask them so that you appear more calm. I know this firsthand because I especially like the part where he says when he expands, I contract. I know this firsthand because I have right now in my life a similar situation where there's like this conflict. And a couple of years ago, the way I handled it is when you expand, I expand, and then we're fighting. That's how most people do things. But don't be like most people. Be like Bruce Lee. And this is like the crux of what I want to talk about. Most people, when they're emotional, they want you to be emotional. They don't want to be the only angry person in the room. When one person is emotional, they look silly. They want that emotion to be reciprocated. And then it becomes like a tennis match where they're hitting their emotion to you and you hit it back, and they feed off your energy, and now you're giving them play. It's actually weirdly pleasurable to engage in a conflict with someone and feel like whatever you said hit its mark. And this makes sense, right? Let's say you're boxing, you're practicing, and you have a heavy bag in front of you. If you swing and hit the heavy bag, bang, and it hits it, and the bag moves, and that's a pleasure. Like, you feel like you just hit that thing. That's a good feeling. It's also good, like, let's say you're playing baseball, and you got your bat, and here comes the ball, and that moment the bat connects with the ball, that's a really good feeling. Crack, and then the ball goes flying, right? Now let's look at the opposite. Let's say you're about to start boxing and you got a heavy bag and you just cock your arm back to throw some kind of crazy haymaker, and the chain breaks and the bag falls on the floor, and you just swing at air. You swing at nothing. That's not a good feeling. Think about that in terms of a conflict that you're going through. When you have somebody that's conflicting with you, that's upset with you, that's texting you, that's angry with you, they're blowing up your phone. It's very difficult. I know this firsthand. It's very difficult to read the things they're saying and put the phone down and walk away, because they're attacking you. And if you don't have your ego in check, like Bruce Lee did, you are going to become embroiled in a fight that is unnecessary. You're going to give them what they want. And ultimately, you are allowing someone else to control you like a puppet, and they get to pull you into their misery. Conversely, when someone is texting you and they're saying things to you that are upsetting to you and you say nothing, it is difficult because you feel like they're winning the fight and they're landing hits, but they're not. They're not landing hits. That feels to them like you're swinging at someone that knows how to fight, and they're just dodging. Bruce Lee said there is no opponent. I don't have to view you like an opponent, because I have removed the I. I have made my ego less sensitive to every little thing that happens around me. I got to put up a fight because someone said the guy I voted for was terrible leader or whatever. Now I got to go fight that fight. And then somebody says something about my religion. I'm going to go fight this fight, and you're putting fires out every direction of your life. That was me. I'm speaking from experience because I know what it's like to feel like an exposed nerve and just reactive. It's a terrible way to live. But if you just quiet your ego, all of that goes away, and you'll be able to receive a message, read it, and put it down and walk away. All right, guys, I decided to end that video there because that video was actually a whole hour long. And unless it's a podcast, I think an hour long is a little bit too much for the average viewer. So I ended it there. But I have another Bruce Lee clip. It's actually really interesting, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So stay tuned for that. Please hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. You know the drill, the regular stuff. It helps the channel. That's what it is. The more likes I get and the more comments I get in the section, and if you share it with someone, like if you share it to your Facebook, I know no one really uses Facebook anymore, but like if you share it to your Instagram or whatever have you, that helps me out a lot. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because this is a passion project of mine. A couple of years ago, I came very close to ending my life, and going through my transformation, I feel like it's very important for me to share that transformation with everyone that I can. It would give me the greatest pleasure of my life to know that someone saw one of my videos and took something from it and decided to hold on a little bit longer. So that's the reason why I do this. So thank you guys for supporting, and I'll see you in the next one.
You see, actually, I do not teach, karate because I do not believe in styles anymore.